We spend most of our lives chasing things that don't actually make us live longer. We chase money, stress, fast food, and fast results. But longevity isn't about speed, it's about consistency. It's about what you do every single day, what you eat, what you think, and how you treat your body. I'm 53 years old and I feel better than I did in my 30s. Not because I'm lucky, but because I decided to live on purpose. I eat real food. I move every day. I keep my mind sharp. Even my dog Henry, who's over there eating right now, he eats clean, chemical-free food because health is basically what we choose to avoid. Longevity isn't just about adding years. It's about adding life to the years you already have. And that's what today's video is about, learning from people who live longer, the Amish, the Blue Zones, and how we can apply their wisdom to modern, noisy lives. Recently, I was listening to a Theo Vaughn podcast, and he had a young Amish man on there, and it got me thinking. The Amish, they live differently. They move, they grow food, they steer clear of most ultra-processed stuff. So the question, do they live longer? And what can we learn from them and from the Blue Zones to apply to our lives today? And here's what the research says. Amish men take about 18,000 steps a day. Women, about 14,000. They eat homegrown fruits and vegetables and rely less on any ultra-processed foods, right? Some data shows that Amish men roughly live 5 years longer than the average U.S. man. Their heavy activity and whole food diets are clear advantages. They're not superhuman, but they remind us that movement and simplicity can go a long way. The Blue Zones, right? Well, places like Okinawa, Sardinia, and Loma Linda, California, where people live, into their 90s and even past 100, what's going on with them, right? Well, their pattern is simple. Constant movement, strong purpose, low stress, real food, and real community. Their diet, about 90 to 95% plant-based, beans, greens, nuts, and whole grains with almost no ultra-processed food. They don't diet, just live close to nature, eat what grows naturally. A quick breakdown comparing the lifestyles of the two, right? The Amish group was basically higher movement, traditional whole foods, more meat and dairy, but everything's homemade. Blue Zones, high movement, mostly plant-based, strong social ties and clear purpose, right? The standard American diet is a sedentary lifestyle, heavily processed foods, high sugar, and high disease rates. Hello? So my plan is basically a mix of the Amish, right, and Blue Zone wisdom, right? Organic, whole foods, daily movement, strong mindset, and balance. A few years ago, I was sick. I had anxiety, acid reflux, chest pains, gout. I had a lot of things wrong with me, burnout, and I lost a lot of people I loved. I hit rock bottom, but I turned it around through food, mindset, and consistency. Now I'm a teacher, strength coach, and a food coach, helping people take back their health naturally for free. I live by what I teach, and it includes my dog Henry. He eats chemical-free food also, right? No fillers, no preservatives. The no junk, right? My last dog lived a healthy lifestyle, and I plan to keep Henry living that healthy lifestyle as well. She lived to be like 14 and a half, and she was like a pit, so that's pretty long for a pit bull, you know. Our bodies, human or animal, thrive, when we feed them clean, fuel and move every day. So what can you do right now, right? Well, to start living a longer, better life, right? Just try to eat something with just one ingredient, a vegetable, fruit, or grains, right? Move for 10 minutes every hour, stretch, walk, or lift something, right? Cut out, ultra processed foods from your diet totally, right? Or just try to cut out as much as you can, right? Even one change will matter, right? Find your purpose. People with purpose live up to 7 years longer, right? Feed your pet the way you feed yourself, clean and chemical free. You always got to remember them pets. You don't want to. It's not their fault, right? So, there's no magic pill, you guys, or secret supplement for longevity, right? But we can borrow from the Amish, their movement and simplicity, and from the Blue Zones, their plant-based diets and sense of purpose, right? So, if you start small, stay consistent, and live intentionally, you'll not only add years to your life, you'll add life to your years. And if this message helped you, subscribe and share it with someone who, needs a reminder that health doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent. And on this channel, you can download free workouts, free food plans, and watch the videos and start getting yourself in the greatest shape and feeling better. Have a great day.